Happy morning, dear children. We are here today to discuss about common methods of asexual reproduction. Reproduction is an ability of an organism to give birth to the new young one of same species. How can you define the term reproduction? Reproduction is one of the life process. What is life process? A process which promotes the life for further existence. And without life process, a living organism would not survive. You know this very well. A living organisms, they come across with many kind of life processes such as digestion, respiration, photosynthesis in plant, excretion, nutrition, various life processes a living organism come across. So reproduction is one of the life processes which help the living organism, enable the living organism to give birth to the new young one of same species. Why we have to mention that reproduction is the process and ability in which a living organism, maybe plant, animal or human being, gives birth to its new young one of same species. Because dog gives birth to dog, cat gives birth to cat, human being gives birth to human being. Therefore, at the end, you are supposed to mention that reproduction is an ability of a living organism to give birth to the new young one of same species. As we discussed, reproduction is one of the life process. On this planet, reproduction life process plays a major role to continue the races of life generation after generation. What happens? Due to lifespan completion, due to the spread of disease, due to due to accident, there are many n number of reasons. The death may occur. One day, a particular living organism is going to die due to natural death, completion of lifespan, due to if he comes across, he meets with an accident, or due to the attack of any disease. There are several reasons behind that. But every individual is going to die one day. If this happens and there is no this life process, no reproduction, then what happens? One day the living organisms present on this planet, this becomes extinct. Therefore, the reproduction is considered as an important life process which enables the living organisms to continue the generation of the life generation after generation. Here, mainly we are here to discuss about common methods of asexual reproduction. As you know, sexual and asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction involves two organisms, male and female. Asexual reproduction involves only one parent, one organism, maybe male or female. In sexual reproduction, fusion of gamete occurs. The gamete fuses between each other. What is gamete? It is a sex cell. Gamete is a sex cell. So fusion among gametes, male gamete, female gamete, they fuses, the fertilization occurs, zygote forms. That happens during sexual reproduction. Whereas asexual reproduction, there is no fusion. Sexual reproduction involves male and female parent. Asexual reproduction involves either male or female, any one, not both. Sexual reproduction, gamete fusion occurs. During asexual reproduction, no gamete fusion. And one more important difference. During sexual reproduction, the parents are not identical to their offsprings. As a result of sexual reproduction, the offsprings are not identical to their parents. Whereas as a result of asexual reproduction, whatever the offsprings are produced, they will be identical to their parents. Offsprings are identical to the parents during asexual reproduction. If the offsprings are produced as a result of asexual reproduction, then the offsprings, when we compare, they will be identical. They look like their parents. Whereas during sexual reproduction, this does not take place. The offsprings may not look like similar, same as their parent. So these are the differences. Sexual reproduction involves two parents. Asexual reproduction involves only one parent. Sexual reproduction, gamete fusion takes place. Asexual reproduction, no fusion between gamete. During sexual reproduction, the offsprings are identical to their parents, not identical. As a result of asexual reproduction, the offsprings will be identical to their parents. So these are the major difference between sexual and asexual reproduction. So here common methods of asexual reproduction, and you know that plants are capable of, here animals and human beings you can take. Animals and human beings are capable of reproducing, giving birth to their new young one by only sexual reproduction method. Whereas here in this category plants also comes. Means plants have the ability to perform sexual reproduction also and asexual reproduction also. You can see asexual reproduction in plants as well as sexual reproduction in plants. Here sexual reproduction. Which organism reproduces by this method, sexual reproduction? Animals, human beings, plant. Asexual reproduction. What are the organisms give birth to their new young one by this method, asexual reproduction? Plants. In addition to plants, microorganisms. Who? Microorganisms. So, is it clear now? Who performs asexual reproduction? Who gives birth to their new young one, new offspring by asexual reproduction method? Organisms like microorganisms and plants. Which organism gives birth to their new young one by sexual reproduction method? Organisms like animals, human beings and plants. So by this we come to know that plants have the ability to reproduce by asexual reproduction method as well as sexual reproduction method. Clear? So here what is given here? Common methods of asexual reproduction. In what? Now binary feature. We can call binary feature is a type of asexual reproduction. Here whatever listed, how many listed down to here? 6. First is binary fusion, second is budding. Next fragmentation is the regeneration, spore formation, vegetative propagation. These are total altogether 6 methods of asexual reproduction are mentioned here. So binary fusion. What kind of organism reproduces by this method? You can take bacteria. What is budding? These are the asexual reproductions. Common methods of asexual reproduction. Number 1, budding. Binary fusion. Second, budding. Number 3, fragmentation, regeneration, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. So what are these all? Common methods of asexual reproduction. So which organism reproduces by binary fusion method? Bacteria. Who reproduces by budding process? Organism like yeast. And who reproduces by fragmentation? Spirogyra. Who reproduces by regeneration? You can take earthworm. And vegetative propagation, spore formation in fungi. And this one, last, vegetative propagation, you can take plants. See here children. Now number 1, if you take binary fusion. What is binary fusion? Is a type of asexual reproduction. Organism like bacteria. What is bacteria? It's a microorganism. What are microorganisms? The organisms which are not able to see with our eyes. They are not visible, invisible. Though they are present everywhere in your surrounding, in air, water, soil, everywhere, the food which we eat, everywhere their presence is there. But they are invisible. Why they are invisible? Because of their microscopic nature. They are very tiny, they are very minute, very small. Therefore, we cannot see them without a device called microscope. The device which is used to see the structure of a microorganism. We can see microorganism only by using a device called microscope. Now, if this is a classroom, it's very tiny, neat, clean, we say. On the floor, if you take a broomstick and collect the dust, the same dust which is collected from the floor, if it is observed, kept on the slide, and the slide is placed under the microscope, and when we see the amount of dust collected on the slide and observed under the microscope, in that we will be able to see millions of microorganisms. So why we are not able to see the microorganisms? Because they are very tiny, very small, very minute. You know micron. Micron. What is micron? 1 micron is 1 by 1000 part of a millimeter. 1 micron stands for. You know millimeter, how small it is. So 1 micron is 1000 part of that millimeter. That is micron. So micron is a unit used to measure the size of microorganism. Just imagine how small they are. Therefore, that is one the reason we are not able to see them without microscope. So bacteria, they are the microorganisms. Bacteria are microorganisms. How they reproduce? They reproduce by a common simple method called binary fission. See here, what is binary? Binary stands for equal. Equal. And what is fission? Division. Suppose this is a bacterial cell. Binary means equally. This bacterial cell equally divides, splits into two parts. That is fission. Equal division of one parent cell into two parts. We call it as binary fission. The nucleus present in the nuclear material present in the cytoplasm of bacterial cell splits. There is a formation of cytoplasmic bridge. When the cytoplasmic bridge forms, the nuclear material moves towards this end and it will move to the other end. Then the formation of cytoplasmic bridge and the cell membrane come across, and finally the one bacterial cell splits, divides into two equal parts. For this type of process we call binary fission. This is performed by bacteria. There is no involvement of male organism, female organism. There is no involvement of fusion between male and female gamete. Nothing. So this type of simple processes we call as asexual reproduction. So one we discussed, that is binary fission, which is performed by bacteria. Now coming to the second one, that is budding. Now yeast. What is yeast? Is a fungus. What kind of fungus? Unicellular fungus. Yeast is a fungus, but it is a unicellular fungus. There are aspergillus, bread mold, mushroom, different kind of fungus are there, but they all comes under penicillin. They are multicellular fungus. Whereas yeast is a fungus, but it is a unicellular fungus, single cell fungus. Organism like yeast cell, how they divide? They divide by a process called budding. What is budding? This is a yeast cell. On the yeast cell, a small outgrowth appears. That outgrowth appears, and this outgrowth starts growing slowly. It starts growing. When it grows into a bigger size, then this outgrowth which forms on this parent cell. This is the parent yeast cell. Initial stage, what happens? A small outgrowth forms here. This keep on growing. This we call as bud. The bud keep on growing and becomes bigger and bigger day by day. Once it becomes fully grown up, it gets detached from this parent cell and start living independently. This we call as budding. So organisms like yeast cell, they reproduce by this method. Now next, coming down to the fragmentation, another method of asexual reproduction. Who perform fragmentation? Who reproduces? Who give birth to their new and one offspring by this method? Fragmentation method. Organism like Spirogyra. What is Spirogyra? It is an algae. Algae. It is algae. What is yeast? It is a fungus. Unicellular fungus. How yeast is dividing? By budding process. How bacteria are dividing? By binary fission process. Next process is fragmentation. What kind of organism divides or multiply or reproduces by fragmentation method? Organism like Spirogyra. What is Spirogyra? It's an algae. What is algae? Algae is a microorganism, a green chlorophyllus which contains green color pigment, possesses autotrophic mode of nutrition, present in the water, a green moss-like structure present in the water. We call it as algae. There are many different kinds, thousands species of algae are there. Cara is there, Udogonium is there, Wallox is there, different kinds of algae are there. So Spirogyra is one among that. So algae, or it's generally algae we call, it's a water polluting indicator. What we call algae? Algae are water polluting indicator. They present in the water, they grow there, they multiply by this type of method, fragmentation method, and their number increases and they make the water present in the water body unfit for use. So organism like Spirogyra, when Spirogyra is observed under the microscope, it looks like this. This is the Spirogyra. The Spirogyra which is present in the water, what happens when it gets a favorable condition like plenty of oxygen, nutrients, water, food material is available in this pond, in this particular water body, a Spirogyra is living. This Spirogyra at that moment, that condition when all the water, food, oxygen are available in sufficient quantity, that is considered as a favorable condition. At that condition, favorable condition, what Spirogyra does? This is a Spirogyra. It splits into several fragments. The division, it splits into several fragments. And this each fragment of this alga again capable of going into a new alga. Like this. Each fragment gives again start growing into a new form of algae. So this method we call as fragmentation. So what kind of organism are dividing by fragmentation method? Organisms like Spirogyra. It's an algae. Next, common method, regeneration. What is regeneration? It is also one of the asexual method of reproduction. What kind of organism multiply or divides by this method, regeneration? Organism like earthworm. What happens in this? Very simple process. A lost body part have an ability to regenerate, regrow. Suppose an earthworm. This is a mouth, this is a tail. The part towards the mouth we call it as anterior portion. Towards tail we call it posterior region. Anterior towards mouth, posterior towards tail. And this is the upper body surface, dorsal surface. Lower body surface is ventral surface. See, the end, mouth end is called anterior region, tail is called posterior region, upper body surface is dorsal, lower body surface is ventral surface. What happens? Suppose this is a tail. Towards the tail end, posterior end, due to if this small part of the tail has cut, then this organism like earthworm have an ability to regenerate, regrow that lost body part. That we call it as regeneration. What we call regeneration. And coming next to the spore formation. What is next? Spore formation. So children, what are the organisms multiply or reproduce by this method, spore formation? Fungi again. Fungi or fungi you can say. Fungi. Just before we discussed that budding in yeast. Yeast is a unicellular organism. But yeast is reproducing by which method? Budding. Other multicellular fungus other than yeast. Yeast is unicellular fungus which reproduces by budding. Other fungus reproduces by spore formation method. Spore formation method is fungus will produce spores during favorable condition. When fungus is observed under microscope, see, bacteria are observed under microscope, they will have cell membrane, cell wall, flagella, cytoplasm, etc. Bacterial cell looks like this. Is it? Algae, Spirogyra is at fragmentation. When algae are observed under microscope, they look like this. When the fungi, multicellular fungi observed under microscope, the body of fungi or fungus is well differentiated into mainly three parts. One is spore sac, other is filament, and at the bottom it will have hyphae. These are hyphae, these are filament, and this is what spore sac. What it is? Spore sac. So when the fungus is observed, any multicellular fungus is observed under microscope, the body of fungi is divided into how many parts? It is differentiated into main three parts: spore sac, filament, and hyphae. So what happens? Suppose this is a fungus. The fungus has a favorable condition. What is the favorable condition? When plenty amount of water, food, oxygen, everything requirements needed by these organisms are available. During favorable conditions, suppose this is a fungus. This fungus during favorable condition, what it does, it produces spores. Where the spores are produced? Spores are produced in a spore sac. These are spores. Here the fungus is living, and this is a favorable condition now for the fungus to live. During its favorable condition, what the fungus is doing? Producing spores. Where the fungus spores are produced from? In a spore sac. When the number of spores increases within the spore sac, they becomes crowded. This will rupture, it breaks. The spore sac breaks, and the spores present in the spore sac they scatter away and they move away. And wherever they go further and fall down, drop down, that single fungal spore, it has come from the spore sac and fallen down here. That single spore again starts multiplying. It develops spore sac, it develops filament, it develops hyphae. When it happens, if the spore sac has fallen down here and if it receives moisture, oxygen, food to grow, if it receives a favorable condition, again it starts and going to a new form of fungus. So this type of method is called spore formation. Who reproduces by spore forming method? Organism like fungus. And next comes, that is vegetative propagation. What is the next? Vegetative propagation. See here, vegetative. Now, you know plant body. This biennial here takes place in bacteria, this takes place in yeast, this takes place fragmentation in spirogyra, regeneration takes place in earthworm, spore formation takes place in fungi. Now vegetative propagation. What is propagation? It's a reproduction. For reproduction only we can call propagation. And what do you mean by vegetative? Asexual. Asexual. So vegetative propagation is now nothing but asexual reproduction. What we can call it as? Asexual reproduction. Vegetative propagation. Who performs? Plants. Example, we can say vegetative propagation in plants. Vegetative propagation in plants, or we can call it as asexual reproduction in plants. Is it clear? As commonly you know, children, a plant body has what? The aerial part of a plant body which is above the ground, visible part of the plant body. We call it as shoot system. And the part of the plant body which is present below the ground, we call it as root system. In addition to this, these are branches, stem, is it? Leaves, roots, etc. And now suppose this is a flower. Now what I am saying to you, roots, stem, branches, leaves, what are these all? These are vegetative parts. Which parts? Vegetative parts of a plant body. Which parts? Vegetative parts. And flower alone is a reproductive part. Flower is what kind of part? Reproductive part. Remember it. There are common parts of a plant body such as root, stem, branches, leaves and flower. So root, stem, branches, leaves are called vegetative part of a plant body. Whereas flower alone is called what kind of part? Reproductive part. Why is it so? Flower involves in sexual reproduction. Flower involves in sexual reproduction. Whereas these parts, root, stem, branches, leaves, are involved in asexual reproduction. The parts of the plant body which are involved in asexual reproduction, we call them vegetative parts. Example, the part of the plant body which involve in sexual reproduction, we call reproductive part is a flower. So sexual reproduction in plants takes place with the help of reproductive part, that is flower, and asexual reproduction takes place in plant with the help of vegetative parts. So various examples of vegetative propagation will be continued in our next class. Now this is enough for today. Thank you. We'll stop here.